The Blocktalk Podcast started because of my passion for the property management industry. I wanted to start a conversation and add some value within the industry with a diverse range of people and professionals who can add something extra. As we start out, my aim is that the podcast offers some useful insight into a variety of views, opinions, thoughts, and foresights from our guests, who include business leaders and industry experts. If you enjoy the podcast and want to find out any other information, head on over to brianwelsh.co.uk. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Blocktalk Podcast with me, Brian Welsh. Today we're with Tom Beswick, who some of you will recognise. Tom's CPL Software's business development manager, and he is here to talk to us about the Property Institute's annual seminar that was at the end of May. Tom was down in London for a couple of days. I went to the seminar, and he's going to talk to us about it. Tom, how you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm just praying for the sun to come out. I think I'm going on record to say this might be the worst summer we've had in Britain for the last decade.
I know.
So I'm hoping that maybe it'll come out later today.
It is pretty grim, isn't it? I played golf last night and it was, I got a wee bit wet. Not as bad as the time before, right enough. Okay, so do you want to tell us what the focus of the event was?
So for anybody that's not been to the TPI annual seminar, it's just it's more of an open forum for like-minded individuals within the property industry to kind of come together, discuss prevalent issues, things that they're facing, and ways that we can overcome them as an industry. I think one thing I've noticed coming into the property industry is the fact that it very much seems like everybody comes together to find a collective resolution to issues. And so it's a really good forum to find those solutions and kind of be able to exchange ideas and find out how we can overcome them as an industry as a whole, I think. So it was a really good conference. It's the first time that I've been personally, but I thought that it was extremely worthwhile going to anybody that hasn't been, that's thinking about going potentially next year. It's definitely worthwhile going. Okay, good. So key points that were raised, and any more insight on that? Yeah, so I think the main topic of discussion that Andy was kind of raising was the increase to a lot of the costs associated with property management. He said that insurance premiums have risen by nearly 200% recently, which is causing service charges to go through the roof, and invoices that owners are having to pay go through the roof, and so that's causing a lot of backlash. And unfortunately, that backlash is now being directed at property managers, and so it's getting to be a little bit of a difficult time for property managers as a whole in the industry, because of the fact that they're not in control of these costs. A lot of it has to do with the fact that raw building materials are going up. We've also got new health and safety regulations that are coming in, which are causing adjustments to be made to all the buildings, additional inspections and warranties and things like that need to be carried out on newer buildings. And so effectively all these costs are being pulled in. Property managers are just doing their job. They're having to get this stuff done. They are legally required to carry out this work, and so they are having to then invoice the clients, and they are getting extremely frustrated because all they see at the end of the day is they're living in the same place. Nothing seems to look any different, but their costs are increasing. And so understandably, I can see why as a client you would become frustrated, but I think one of the key takeaways from the event was a real need to increase that transparency between the property manager and the client, so that the client further understands why these costs have increased, because it's quite understandable that you would get a little bit frustrated if you're just getting a bigger bill and no explanation as to why. So I think property managers need to do as best as they can to be able to provide that information to clients, from way of being able to to show original purchase ledger invoices, for example, for works carried out, so they can see the additional costs that have been raised by contractors, for example, or being able to offer services to multiple contractors by way of an estimate request, for example, to be able to try and pull that cost back slightly, and being able to show the client that they're engaging in that sort of activity, to make sure that they are aware of the fact that property managers is doing everything within their best interest to try and pull those costs back. So I think that was a really prevalent issue. And another thing that they'd mentioned was a new commencement order has been created, which means that each managing agent is required to outline their resident engagement strategy. So it further feeds back into the fact that they need to be able to openly communicate with residents, not just from an email, but by way of having that two-way communication via a client portal or whatever else it might be.
Okay, interesting. So, what about some stats? Everyone loves stats. Give us some stats, Tom.
Some of them very surprising. And so they were mentioning the number of units that they expect to enter the market over the next year. And they were saying that sits at about 100,000. However, only 18,000 of these have actually been delivered. And so they're grossly overestimating the number of units that they're expecting to enter the market. Whether that will now change due to the change of government, who knows? Remains to be seen. But that was interesting to see the disparity between those two numbers. Management fees have risen on average by 21% since 2019. I think that's probably understandable with the rate of inflation, and obviously the additional costs to materials and labour costs and all that sort of information. So I can understand that. But also repairs and maintenance have risen by 36% since 2019. So since pre-pandemic, costs have risen dramatically. General expenditure on properties has risen by 39% since 2019, and general health and safety costs have risen by 40% since 2019. So a lot of these additional regulations that have been brought in are kind of the key motivators for rising costs. So it paints quite a bleak picture for clients or residents, you'd say, as to where their money's going. But it just seems to be the state of the country at the moment. Everything seems to be going up in price. Inflation is pushing things up, and somebody's got to pay for it at the end of the day, unfortunately. So it kind of again feeds back into that issue of trying to be as transparent as possible and paint a picture as to where these additional costs have come from, rather than just saying there's additional costs. It's out of our control. You just need to pay it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. That's some chunky increases. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's quite scary. But that's why we have systems like CPL, for example, that enables you to be able to instruct multiple contractors, get estimate requests for various jobs, try and pull those costs down, be able to engage with your residents, be able to help them understand where these costs are coming from. Having a system in place, it makes a big difference and can help to claw back some of those additional expenditures.
Okay. I mean, you've touched on that there, but with the kind of your CPL hat on, what can the system offer to help solve any pressing issues?
Going back into kind of the things that I've mentioned. So we now have what we call the client engagement application, which is Connect. And coupled with the new portal, this allows a much more interactive platform for property managers and residents, clients, tenants, whatever you call them. It gives them the ability to be able to raise repair requests, follow up with complaints, comments, feedback, whatever it might be. But rather than that sitting externally from your property management software, it's all kept internal. So you've got a record of those conversations. So if you needed to feed from those in the future, you can do so, but it also allows you to action those directly from the Connect application. So whether it is raising a job for an outstanding piece of work, whether it's creating an estimate request, for example, you can do all of that from within Connect from its cloud-based platform. It goes a step further by enabling you to schedule in meetings with clients. And so having that regular touch point with them, again, helps to alleviate some of these issues where you're getting that backlash from clients to say, why are our costs increasing? We need you to sit down with us and walk us through the reasons why. And so again, Connect is enabling you to do that and liaise with the clients directly from their own portal or via an email, but maintain that communication within the CPL ecosystem so that you're maintaining that single point of truth. So I think that's a really key element to it. Again, I touched on it before, being able to send out estimate requests to multiple contractors, having a good system in place that enables you to find competitive quotations, again, is going to help you to hopefully take some of the pressure off as a property manager to show, okay, we've got multiple different quotations here. This is the cheapest that we can get. is this the one that you want to proceed with, for example? You can go a step further by creating proposed works where you allow your clients to be able to vote on works that are going to be carried out. And I know that you can't do that with everything. When it comes to health and safety regulations, some jobs do just have to be carried out, whether the clients like the cost or not. But for other pieces of work, maybe we can kind of claw that money back by offering some of these competitive quotations. So there's a lot that we have in the system that can help. We go a step further when it comes to invoicing, like I said before, by being able to show original purchase ledger invoices. So if you did want to be able to publish those to your clients to say, look, this is how much we were charged, we can prove to you that we're not adding anything on top here. Of course, you never would. But it just enables you to be able to publish that information to clients so that they've got everything to hand, so that there's kind of no backlash on a property manager themselves.
Okay, Tom, just final question for you. And you had a quote of the day, I think. Can you tell us what it is and why you picked that out?
I did, yeah. So the quote that I kind of singled out from the entire event was, doing management cheap, you get cheap management. And it's conversely to everything we've kind of said previously. And I think it is testament to the fact that, the costs that we're trying to save shouldn't be costs that are relating to the managing agents effectively. These guys are doing everything in their power to provide the best possible service and to do the best for the client. And I don't think it's fair for them to be having to absorb these costs for the increased, contractor fees, building maintenance, all that sort of things that are going on in the background. And I thought that was really prevalent. That these guys do a really, really stellar job, and they should be, compensated for that fairly. And so I think that, good managing agent require a good fee to do a good job. And so it did kind of stick with me, that quote of the day.
I have one that I used to use with people I know, and that is buy cheap, buy twice.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? And it's probably, okay, you buy a cheap, I don't know, phone case, you'll probably end up throwing it in the bin and buying a proper one or a decent one. But actually, it's probably a wee bit even more important when it comes to property management. Buy something cheap and not get a service for it, and you'll actually have a detrimental effect on your property, and then it will cost you more to get it fixed in the long run. So I would totally agree with that one as well.
Yeah, you're paying for the expertise as well at the end of the day, aren't you? It's making sure that you've got somebody on the other end that can fight your corner with the expertise that they've got. So you're safe in the knowledge that the job they're doing is the right one, rather than it's a back and forth. Try something, didn't work, or try something else, didn't work. Not the best possible service.
Yeah, no, I guess I get what you mean. All right, Tom, thanks very much for updating us on that seminar, and I will catch up with you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
Cheers.